Second wave of blasts ripped through Lebanon. After pagers, walkie-talkies now detonate. Home solar panels up in flames. Over 14 killed, 450 injured in the blasts. Hezbollah vows Israel will pay. Lebanon reels, world on edge.
We still don't want to see an escalation of any kind.
Hezbollah-Israel on the brink of war. The big focus on 5 Live. It's most definitely a new era of warfare, and it comes just ahead of the first anniversary of the October 7th attack by the Hamas on Israel. But what's happening now has taken the entire world by surprise. Horror, fascination over how Israel, well, claimed to be Israel, looks to be bumping off Hezbollah terrorists. The Northern Front, that big story right up ahead on 5 Live as we decode the next phase of this story. I'm Shiv. As the Hezbollah-Israel war escalates, remember that's just one front of the war that has been on since October 7th last year. Well, things took a decidedly horrific turn a couple of days ago with pagers exploding, but it looks like it isn't just pagers that have been rigged as weapons, because now solar panels, walkie-talkies, mobile phones, and who knows what other devices have not only exploded, but are possibly waiting to explode and kill Israel's marked enemies. This is the story from Lebanon.
Two days of sudden explosions. Serial blasts have rocked Lebanon. First pagers, and then handheld radios used by armed group Hezbollah detonated across the country. The walkie-talkie explosions claimed at least 20 lives and left over 450 injured.
And that's exactly what we are going to do.
Israel says that the war is entering a new phase. The IDF is moving troops from Gaza to the northern front, where they could target Hezbollah forces stationed in southern Lebanon.
We are opening a new phase in the war. It requires courage, determination, and perseverance from us.
Hezbollah has vowed to retaliate. The US says intense diplomatic efforts are on to prevent an escalation in Israel-Lebanon war.
We still don't want to see an escalation of any kind. We don't believe that the way to solve where we're at in this crisis is by additional military operations.
With both Israel and Hezbollah in war mode, Lebanon could become the new war theatre. Bureau Report, India Today.
And we've got some breaking news coming in, this time from the Western press. The New York Times now reporting that the Israeli government didn't tamper with the devices, the pagers and the mobile phones, etc., that exploded in Lebanon, killing Hezbollah terrorists. It was the Israeli government itself that had manufactured them as part of an elaborate ruse, reports the New York Times, quoting unspecified defense and intelligence officials, unnamed defense officials from Israel. The New York Times, in a shattering report, suggests that Israel has neither confirmed nor denied any role in the explosions, but that 12 current and former defense and intelligence officials who were briefed on the attack say the Israelis were behind it, describing the operation as complex and long in the making. So, viewer, this is big. The New York Times reporting that the Israeli government, remember, Israel has officially denied having anything to do with these explosions whatsoever. On record, they've denied any role played whatsoever. But the New York Times is now quoting as many as 12 officials, unnamed officials, as saying that the Israel government did not tamper with pagers or mobile phones coming in from Taiwan or Japan, but had actually manufactured them itself and supplied them into Lebanon as part of some kind of a huge, a gargantuan infiltration operation, possibly using artificial technology, logos and branding to mimic technology that was coming in from Taiwan or Japan in order to get those devices into the hands and the pockets of Hezbollah persons. The pagers began shipping to Lebanon in the summer of 2022, before the 2023 attack, in fact, in small numbers, but production was quickly ramped up after the Hezbollah stopped using cell phones. Very, very important information coming in, viewer. This New York Times report is suggesting that this methodology used by Israel predates what happened on October 7th last year in the attack that killed hundreds of Israelis in that Hamas attack. Israel had put into motion a plan to establish some kind of a shell company, says the New York Times, that would pose as an international pager producer. Let me just quickly summarize that for you, because this is, if any part of what the New York Times is reporting is true, this means that Israel did not tamper with pagers coming in from Taiwan or Japan or wherever it is, planting something in it and supplying it to Lebanon. It was Israel itself that was actually manufacturing fake versions of Taiwanese or Japanese handheld devices and supplying them, as part of a massive ruse into Lebanon so that they would be used by the Hezbollah. This was something that started in 2022, and Gaurav Sawant is with me live. Gaurav, very, very interesting information. Obviously, all of it, attributed to unnamed sources in the Israeli system. But, if any part of this is true, this is earth-shattering, because it basically means that this kind of an operation, this level of warfare was started before October 7th, 2023, and was probably scaled up and put into action at this time.
Shiv, this truly is next level intelligence gathering and intelligence operations. If, as you rightly point out, any of this is true, but by all accounts it does appear to be true, because look at it prima facie. The Taiwanese company Gold Apollo say they did not supply these pagers. At the same time, the Japanese company also says that they had stopped manufacturing these handsets way back in 2004 and 14. So between 4 and 14, they manufactured them. So who was manufacturing it? Beyond that, it now appears that Israel, the moment it realized that Hassan Nasrallah, the chief of Hezbollah, was telling his cadre that the secret Israeli agent that they're looking for are the mobile phones being carried by the Hezbollah operatives themselves, their wives, their children, their families, and that gives away information to the Israelis and bury those mobile phones. They realized that he wanted them to go down and start using lower technology or old technology, obsolete technology, which were pagers. They started manufacturing those pagers. They floated a company which sounded exactly like the real company, whether the Japanese or the Taiwanese company, floated an office, had an office in Hungary, in Budapest, and the moment they got an order, usually everyone goes for what is known as L1. You understand L1, the concept of the lowest pricing. So they gave better than market pricing, and Hezbollah were drawn to that, and then they started manufacturing it, initially passing just regular pagers, because that way they got all the information that was given by the Hezbollah commanders to the Hezbollah fighters on those pagers. Israel was able to intercept them since they were manufacturing it. Two, the moment Hassan Nasrallah asked them to scale up manufacturing, they started putting this PETN of bomb, and they had all the time to do it, a good period of 5 months to do this. They scaled it up to this devastating effect. The timing again, Shiv, very crucial. Many argue that they had to detonate these pagers right now because Hezbollah was planning a massive attack on Israel, and Israel preempted it by throwing that entire command and control system out of gear, communication out of gear, and taking the middle-rung fighters out of that battle.
This is, this New York Times report, like Gaurav said, if any part of this is true, it basically takes the story that we already know about what happened in Lebanon and exponentially makes it bigger. it makes the complexity of the planning and execution of what Israel has managed to do against the Hezbollah, hundreds of times bigger than just what we so far understood to be true, which is that Israel had intercepted imports of these pagers, had tampered with them, planted explosives, and then forwarded them into Lebanon. This New York Times report suggests that the source of those pagers itself was Israel as part of a much larger subterfuge and deception program in order to create artificial pagers pretending to be pagers supplied by Taiwan or Japan, and then making them go into Lebanon. But just take a look, a quick recap of where all these devices have exploded so far. In Beirut, mobile phones have exploded. You've seen a mobile phone exploding there. In the city of Sidon, handheld radios have reported to have exploded. In Beirut, serial pagers, and these are the explosions that have happened, the largest in number, as Gaurav was just explaining to us, because mobile phones are in disuse by the Hezbollah. Serial pager blasts have taken place in the capital of Beirut, and also lately, home solar panels have exploded as well. So you've got, walkie-talkies, radio transistors, mobile phones, serial pagers, and home solar panels that have all exploded. 20 people have killed, over 350 people have been injured in these explosions over the last couple of days. I also want to bring in Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow with IPCS and a well-known commentator on matters military and strategic affairs. Abhijit, welcome. Abhijit, the New York Times report that's just emerged, I'm sure you've had a chance to look at some part of it, but yeah. I'll quickly summarize that for you. They've basically said these were not pagers from Taiwan or elsewhere. The origin of these pagers itself was Israel. They manufactured themselves and supplied them to Lebanon as part of a deep plan that began sometime in 2022 when the Hezbollah had stopped using mobile phones. Abhijit, what do you think?
Yeah, so I take everything the New York Times says with a large bucket of salt. I don't take the New York Times seriously, just about as seriously as I take Al Jazeera. What my own sources in Israel are telling me is that they were assembled in Hungary, but different parts were sourced from different places. It turns out the operative parts, which is the parts that were injected with somewhere between 7 to 20 grams of PETN, were the ones that were manufactured in Israel and sent. Right. So this was complete supply chain, and the company was definitely Israeli owned. So this was complete supply chain compromise. And imagine the irony of it, Shiv. Hezbollah paid Israel to get bombed.
Incredible, yeah.
For me, I can't get over that.
I want you to explain a little bit more about the compromising of an entire supply chain. And Abhijit, you understand this as well. Gaurav was also touching upon it just a moment ago. To compromise an entire supply chain for the supply of such devices would require, a kind of perfect symphony of deception at so many different levels: export, import, licensing, cargoes, paperwork, all kinds of things.
I think what the way I have understood it is, they were privy to a lot of Hezbollah chatter and, in fact, public chatter. This wasn't even closed doors chatter, where Hezbollah were going around saying very proudly, that they're going to go back in time, back to older technology, which is much tougher to compromise. If you remember, some 2-3 years back, Reuters also ran a piece saying Hezbollah's master plan is to go towards drones and go back to pagers and things like that. So Israel had a lot of intel confirmed by secondary directed intel, as I understand it, of what Hezbollah plans were. But it is the genius here lies in the rapidity of coming up with such an audacious plan of buying. Remember, the license for production at the Hungarian plant was purchased fair and square from the Taiwanese company. The Taiwanese company's manager has admitted that a Taiwanese national called Teresa set up his meeting with the Hungarian delegation, which signed all the licenses, paid all the fees and everything, and manufactured these things at the assembled these things at the Hungarian plant. So they planned minuscule detail for something that may or may not happen. 5, 6, 7 years down the line, as it so happened, it was 2-3 years down the line. This requires it's not just the intel required. It is the leadership, the actioning of intel, the direction you take the intel, the operational secrecy at keeping this all tight and not, wink, wink, nudge, nudge campaign.
Yeah.
And finally being able to do this at the exact right moment when it is so crucially required.
I'm just wondering because, the Hezbollah has, Iran behind it, Abhijit. Shouldn't they have been suspicious that this kind of thing may be an option for Mossad? Because ultimately, if you look back a few decades as well, the Mossad, Israel security agencies have employed tactics of this kind, to get even with their enemies. They have used devices, they've used phones, different kinds of things. Obviously, much more primitive versions of what they've done now. But, this kind of thing should have been expected. How did they miss something like this, especially in the last 1 year?
Pure hubris. If you remember, Israel pioneered the phone bomb. The first time it was used is 1972 on a chap called Mahmoud Hamshari, who was the PLO representative in Paris. And there it was again placed in the speaker, those old style phones we used to have when we were kids. It was placed in the speaker of that phone. An operative called, there was a voice expert to confirm this was Hamshari's voice. It had detonated and it severed his head clean. Now, for, a people that have been at the receiving end of these Israeli techno-marvel bombs, you'd reckon they would be a bit smarter. I think this was hubris. The hubris of having gone back to primitive enough technology that Israel would not compromise it. I think they thought, the danger of electronics like this is electronic interception, not electronic detonation. And this is how you wrong-foot your enemy. When they expect something, you do exactly what they do not expect, which is put a bomb inside the phone itself.
It's incredible. Abhijit, stay with me because I want to talk for a moment after this report about, what's going to happen now inside Lebanon, what happens to the Hezbollah and what happens to the actual conflict on the northern front. Recent attacks on the Hezbollah's communication infrastructure reveal, like Abhijit was also saying, attention to minuscule, terrifyingly minuscule detail and a sophisticated adversary like Israel that is well-resourced and technologically advanced. It faced its historically worst attack on October the 7th last year. This appears to be the first big targeted reaction. The precise timing suggests huge planning, deep planning. In this context, walkie-talkies have been weaponized by exploiting their frequencies to intercept or jam communications, turning them into tools for disruption or misinformation as well. Just take a look at some of the possible theories that we've been looking at. This is the case of these exploding devices. Theory number one, walkie-talkies modified to include a secondary circuit activated by radio frequency. Pretty primitive technology if you actually think about it. Explosive-laden walkie-talkies then remotely triggered. And remember what Abhijit just said. Hubris about the comfort of old technology, but that is where the devil actually may lie. Theory number two, walkie-talkies and pagers tampered with before distribution. That we know to be true now, except the source remains in question. Devices intercepted, fitted with 20 grams of explosive charges, and then supplied to the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Theory number three, booby-trapping communication devices, wiring transmit button to an explosive circuit. That's also a possibility that experts are suggesting. Theory number four, the devices are equipped with a timed activated mechanism already pre-programmed. Sensors detect movement or usage and then explode. This seems a little less likely because what would be the actual algorithm? What would be the terms given to the program in terms of the conditions under which it would actually detonate? Take a look at what these theories actually mean at this time.
A case of exploding wireless devices. From a funeral procession of the son of Hezbollah MP who died in a pager blast on Tuesday, to a mobile shop, to home solar panel explosions. A second wave of coordinated blasts ripped through Lebanon on Wednesday, resulting in the deadliest day since cross-border tensions between Hezbollah and Israel escalated nearly a year ago. The attacks on Hezbollah's communication infrastructure are unusual and sophisticated, suggesting the involvement of a well-resourced and technologically advanced adversary. The timing indicates a high level of coordination and planning. So how were walkie-talkies weaponized? One theory is that the walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah operatives were modified to include a secondary circuit that could be activated by a specific radio frequency. By transmitting a signal on the same frequency, the explosive-laden walkie-talkies could have been remotely triggered. Another possible explanation is that the walkie-talkies and pagers were tampered with prior to the distribution. Hezbollah relies heavily on communication equipment for coordinating and intelligence gathering. It's conceivable that some of these devices were intercepted, fitted with small explosive charges, and then returned to Hezbollah operatives without their knowledge.
PTN is one explosive which is weight-wise, it is much more powerful than TNT. There's something like they have a factor which decides the potency of explosive. So it is 1.6 PTN. That it's called a relative effective factor. Gives you flexibility. You can twist it, turn it. It's very malleable, foldable, moldable, and 3 to 5 grams of PTN is enough to kill a person. That's what we've been seeing. If you see this ambulance blast, which has happened because with the walkie-talkie, possibly the explosive being used in walkie-talkie, and few laptops have also gone to the outer space. So there, since bodies are bigger, so more explosive is there, and that's why the casualty is more. The walkie-talkies claim 20 lives, as per the unconfirmed news.
A more direct method might involve booby-trapping the communication devices to explode upon their use. This could involve wiring the transmit button of the walkie-talkie to an explosive circuit. Another possibility is that the walkie-talkies or pagers were equipped with a timed activation mechanism or sensors that detected movement or usage. The serial blast signaled a significant shift in the tactics used against Hezbollah, showing an increased focus on psychological warfare, targeting not just the group's physical assets, but also its trust in everyday communication tools.
Israelis forced these people who believe in a 1400 years old ideology to go back to that era to survive, if they want to survive. Like the memes saying that pigeons will be used and all. So this is the biggest impact, that fear of unknown, the fear of unpredictable attack, the factor of uncertainty. And beyond that, like you said, there's no limit, ma'am. I mean, they can go to any kind of gadget and do it. Pager was possibly the most difficult.
The walkie-talkie blast represent a new chapter in long-standing conflict between Hezbollah and its adversaries. With Shivani Sharma in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
I want to go back to Abhijit now to get clarity on what he thinks about, where this leaves the Hezbollah. Abhijit, the Hezbollah, 20. We've just got news in that the death toll has gone up to 25 now, with over 370 people injured. What does this do to the Hezbollah's, communication infrastructure, its ability to plan, its ability to coordinate and collaborate for attacks now? Because it'll seem like any device that they're operating now is compromised.
Look, it is devastating for them because the pagers were their redundancy plan, right? The pagers were the crucial mobile element because, as I understand it, the operating orders were the moment you get a message on the pager, you find a landline and call. And that way, Israel has to surveil every single landline, every single mobile in order to know which Hezbollah guy is talking to whom, kind of thing. Which was fundamentally, it was overloading the Israeli system. Now, with all those pagers gone, that redundancy measure is gone. They will have to think up a new plan that will take months for them to think up. And all the other measures, they don't know. Even if they come up with a redundancy plan now, do you think Israel would have gone into this without thinking, oh, if we take out all their pagers, will they switch to mobiles? Will they switch to this? And would they have jerry-rigged all of those? So they are now, imagine an army without communications.
Yeah,
Your secure radios taken out, all your methods of communication taken out. Devastating blow. The second most devastating blow here, possibly even more devastating than this, is the fact that all of these pages were issued to your mid-level and lower top-level commanders.
Correct.
Every one of them had these pages, and every one of them has blown up, which means you're looking at a complete loss. So assume, look, they're terrorists. We shouldn't compare them to any army, but you're looking at basically every single major brigadier, colonel to say brigadier level officer being killed off in the Hezbollah. How do you think a military operates if that entire middle command is blown up or rendered useless? Either the eyes are gone, the hands are gone, or the legs are gone. If your legs are gone, or at least wounded, no chance of you coming back into the field for about 6 months without physiotherapy and things like that. So it is the command structure taken out. It is the communication structure taken out. And the problem now is Hezbollah is looking at a technological regrouping, which will take 7 to 8 years. They will make mistakes during that. They will go in for technology that is already compromised by Israel and pay another price. The human cost will be much, much more difficult to replace. Remember, in Syria, it was ordinary fighters dying. Here, it has been a decapitation of the middle leadership.
Correct.
Very difficult. These are experienced people, very, very difficult to replace.
What in your view would be Israel's next step? Would it be a scaling up of these tactics to, target, more operatives, more terrorists in other groups as well? Or, could it even possibly be some kind of a ground operation into Lebanon, Abhijit?
From all the satellite intel we're seeing, they're preparing for some kind of a ground operation. There is significant ground movement happening. Now, will they go in? Will they not go in? I don't know. I think what Israel has now done, the third aspect to this is, when all of these pages went off, I'm sure Israel would have had people in every single hospital or hacked and used remote security cameras to see who were all the agents they knew who had been injured, who were all the agents they did not know who had been injured, and track down their families, homes, etc., etc. So the operational security loss in Hezbollah has been so massive. Israel will be waiting to see if that loss justifies a ground invasion. Because if you remember the 2006 Israeli invasion of Lebanon, the campaign against Lebanon, it did not go well. It was classified as an operational failure.
Correct.
They are seeing if they have the military ability to resist as well as they did in 2006. If not, the ground campaign may just end up happening.
Okay, this is a story very rapidly in motion, and we will continue to decode it on an hourly and daily basis. Abhijit, as always, thank you very much for being with me here on 5 Live. Thanks, Abhijit. An absolutely shocking video of a fatal motorcycle accident in Gurugram's Golf Course Road. Gurugram is, of course, Delhi's Haryana suburb. A 23-year-old biker named Akshat Garg tragically lost his life after his motorcycle was struck by a Mahindra SUV traveling on the wrong side of the road near Belvedere Park, an upscale part of Gurugram, early on Sunday morning. Police reported that the victim, a young biker named Akshat Garg, was riding along with a friend on another motorcycle when this terrible collision took place. The one at fault, of course, was the man driving on the wrong side of the road in his Mahindra SUV, which happened to have a BJP sticker on it. India Today has obtained footage of the incident recorded by the victim's friend Pradyuman, who is also the complainant. He had a GoPro camera on his head and he was filming the entire thing riding 100 feet behind. The video shows the SUV with a BJP sticker on it hitting the motorcycle and killing Akshat. Pradyuman, who was his friend, an eyewitness, claims that the accused was speeding in the wrong side of the road at the time of the crash. The alleged driver of the SUV, Kuldeep Thakur, was arrested at the scene but has since been released on bail. In fact, he got bail almost immediately after the accident. Let's go straight across to India Today's Shreya Chatterjee tracking the story closely. Shreya, what do we know about the circumstances under which this Kuldeep Thakur was granted bail immediately? Because the video clearly shows the SUV speeding on the wrong side of the road in the most criminal manner. There's a BJP sticker on that SUV, which obviously means these are well-connected people. What is the police saying?
Well, unfortunately, Shiv, I reached out to the police with multiple queries whether there was a drug test, an alcohol test done on the accused, whether the accused had a proper driving license, in fact, or not. But no such clarification has yet come from the Gurugram police. They are yet to give answers to our query. But we have accessed the FIR, which clearly suggests that the sections are of death by negligence, rash driving, mischief causing damage to the tune of 20,000, and compensation under the Motor Vehicles Act. The FIR doesn't even detail whether it's section 1061 or 2, because that depends on the severity of the punishment. So clearly there are a lot of answers that the Gurugram police also needs to give, but clearly an unfortunate incident because a man was driving on a wrong side, which in itself is extremely wrong. And we already have the figures that at least 1,500 such accidents happen on the roads of Delhi alone because of wrong side driving. So it's an important case that the Gurugram police should closely investigate at a time when the family and the friend who's an eyewitness suggests there is an action to suppress the entire matter.
And just to be clear, Shreya, stay with me. Just to be clear for all of our viewers across the country, Haryana is a BJP-ruled state. This vehicle had a BJP sticker on it, and the driver, who was driving the SUV, allegedly driving the SUV at the time of this collision, driving on the wrong side of the road, ending in the death of that biker. He was given bail by the Gurugram police almost immediately, just, a few hours after the accident. Shreya, when these reports emerged earlier this week, this is not confirmed, but they did emerge in other parts of the media. It was suggested that the Pradyuman, the rider who had a GoPro camera filming the entire incident, that horrific video which we're actually showing to our viewers right now, when that video evidence was apparently presented to the police, they apparently rejected it. We don't know if that's true or not, but you're saying that the police is not giving any answers. But this is terribly glaring because the person, in the vehicle, the person of interest, is literally someone who appears to be connected to the ruling party of Haryana.
Well, Shiv, both the family and the friend Pradyuman, whose camera caught this entire video, has confirmed to us that Gurugram police did not take the footage of the accident despite having viewed it. When we reached out to Gurugram police, they did not confirm or deny us the same. We are yet to get an answer from Gurugram police on the process of the investigation. But this person concerned, he's a co-founder of a media consultancy firm, which also handles social media campaigns for political parties. So clearly there's a question that arises in the entire incident, and the video alone shows the severity of the accident. The entire video that India Today has accessed also has a part where the eyewitness, the friend of the deceased, is also interrogating the accused that why were you driving from the wrong side, and is also asking people to call the police. So extremely unfortunate incident, completely caught on camera. Clearly the accused should be booked in a more stricter possible punishment.
We'll be following this story very closely and asking all of those questions that the Gurugram police has refused to answer from Shreya at this point of time. We will tell you who Kuldeep Thakur is. We will find out what the link with the BJP is. We will tell you why there's a BJP sticker on that car. And we will tell you why the BJP so far is silent on this particular matter. A young motorcyclist, a biker, Akshat Garg, remember him. He has died in this particular incident. And I promise that we will track this story until justice is served. Shreya, thanks very much for joining us on that report. Meanwhile, another train sabotage incident has been reported, this time in Uttarakhand's Rampur. An attempt to derail the train between Bilaspur and Rudrapur city has just been reported. The loco pilot of that train, number 12091, found a 6-meter long iron pole on the railway track. The driver stopped the train, cleared the track, and then started the train safely. So after cement blocks, gas cylinders, and other devices kept in order to try and trigger train accident, it appears now an iron pole was kept on a track. Piyush Mishra has more details. Piyush, Fortunately, nothing happened this time, but this appears to be a pattern now.
Well, absolutely, Shiv. This now appears to be a pattern because earlier we have found cylinders, cement blocks, wood on railway track, and this time a 6-meter long iron pole was found on the tracks between Rudrapur city and between Rudrapur Road and Bilaspur city. Rampur Doon Express was crossing on that particular track, and the loco pilot saw a 6-meter long iron pole on the tracks, and he immediately applied emergency brake. Following which he came out of the train and himself removed the iron pole and started the train safely. That's the official information which we are right now getting. This is certainly indicating that another sabotage attempt was made to derail the train. Earlier we have seen how multiple things have been found on the track. Though the government is very much cautious as far as these incidents are concerned, we are also getting to know from the Railway Ministry that the government is planning a detailed plan to combat these incidents. But this is somewhere indicating as to how a pattern has surfaced where various things are now found on the track and multiple attempts are being made to sabotage the trains. Multiple attempts are being made to derail the trains. We'll have to see how the investigation in this case will further proceed, but the loco pilot applied emergency brake and then he himself came out of the train and removed the pole and then started the train safely.
Okay, Piyush, thanks very much for that. We'll keep a track of that. Fortunately, no accident reported in this particular attempt at sabotage. And a political storm over allegations about Tirupati temple prasadam has escalated and intensified. Shocking revelations in a lab test report of the prasadam, the famous Tirupati laddu that is distributed to devotees. A lab report released by the Telugu Desam party, the ruling party of Andhra Pradesh, says animal fat, beef fat, has allegedly been found in prasadam. We, of course, cannot independently verify these claims which are coming in from the Telugu Desam party, the ruling party, but they say that the lab report says fish oil, beef fat, animal fat has been found in sacred Tirupati prasadam. Here's what the TDP, the ruling party of Andhra Pradesh under Chandrababu Naidu, has said at a press conference releasing these details.
Lard ante animal fat, జంతువుల మాంసం. అవి ఏ జంతువులో మనకు తెలీదు. కుక్కలు కావచ్చు, నక్కలు కావచ్చు, పిల్లులు కావచ్చు, కుళ్ళిపోయిన కుక్క పిల్లలు కావచ్చు. మనం చూస్తుంటాం కుక్కల మాంసం వస్తుంటది చెన్నై నుంచి. మా నెల్లూరుకి ఎన్నిసార్లు పట్టుకున్నారో తెలుసా మీకు? ఏమా నెల్లూరులో పట్టుకున్నారు లేదా? 1000 టన్నులు పట్టుకున్నారు, 100 టన్నులు. ఆ నూనె కూడా వాడారని భయముగా ఉన్నది.
Abdul Bashir, my colleague, joins us live from Hyderabad. Abdul, this lab report that the TDP is quoting from, what report is this? When was this conducted? Which lab is this? Just trying to confirm, because these are very, very serious revelations that the TDP is making.
Well, absolutely. This report that has been released was issued on 23rd of July recently, after which the TDP had held a press conference and claimed that there is adulteration in this particular ghee that is utilized for preparation of the prasadam in the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. So here this lab report claims that the value, the S value of these samples have exceeded the regular standards. And if this value is exceeded, it can be that this ghee contains, as you stated, that fish oil or also the beef tallow is what is mentioned in this particular report. So the standard, the value of the S value of this particular sample that had been taken had exceeded the regular or the considered value that is usually said to be a pure, a ghee that is not containing any animal fat, but this value had exceeded. Now, the clear report on this particular, clear valuation on this report is yet to be released by the Vigilance Department of the TTD. the clear report which clarifies as to what kind of animal fat was used in this particular ghee that was utilized for preparing prasadam of Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. So as a preliminary report states that there was animal fat used, but which animal is yet to be released by the Vigilance Department. Now this report, which was the test that was conducted in the month of July, and the report was out on 23rd of July, states that there is some kind of animal fat presence in the ghee that was used in preparing prasadam of the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam.
Abdul, beyond the political crossfire between the TDP and the YSRCP, are you hearing any explanation for this? Was it some kind of error? Was it something else? Because we've heard, the Jagan Reddy camp saying that this is propaganda. They said, Jagan has said that he is willing to swear on the temple. Beyond the politics, what are you hearing?
Well, beyond the politics, what we see is that there is some kind of irregularities that had taken place in the TTD, is what all the TDP had been claiming. But this company, the company among 5 companies, there is one company which is not named yet, has allegedly adulterated this particular ghee, and that company had been blacklisted by the government. Now here, this is not a small allegation that is put up. Chandrababu Naidu, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, during this NDA partners meet, had revealed this particular issue. Now YSRCP is claimed.
We'll keep a track of that. Minister of State Ravneet Singh Bittu faces an FIR in Bengaluru after calling Rahul Gandhi terrorist number 1. The charges against the minister include promoting enmity, making false statements to mislead the public, and falsifying evidence. But the minister is defiant and has mounted on the Congress and leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi. Take a look at this detailed report.
Rahul Gandhi खुद देश के नंबर 1 टेररिस्ट अगर किसी को मेरे ख्याल से किस पे अनाम होना चाहिए पकड़ने के लिए, या देश का सबसे बड़ा दुश्मन जिसको मानना चाहिए एजेंसीज को, वो आज राहुल गांधी।
Union Minister Ravneet Singh Bittu is under fire for calling the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, a terrorist. After Delhi, Congress leaders in Bengaluru have filed a police case against Bittu. The minister, who had commented on Rahul's statement in the US on Sikh struggles, is accused of promoting enmity among groups and disseminating false information to the public. Bittu, however, is defiant.
मुझे खेद क्यों होगा ये बताइए ना। हम पंजाब ने हमने तो यार अपनी पीढ़ियां खो दी। पंजाब आग में जला दिया इस गांधी फैमिली ने, और जिसमें मेरे दादाजी सरदार बेअंत सिंह जी, जो टेररिज्म इनकी गलतियों से पंजाब में आया, उसको ठीक करते करते 35,000 लोग चले गए। पन्नू सबसे बड़ा टेररिस्ट है, और जो रेफरेंडम करा रहा है खालिस्तान के लिए, उसकी जबान और राहुल गांधी की जबान एक होगी तो उसको क्या कहेंगे।
अभी कांग्रेस का इसको
BJP leaders have come out in support of Bittu.
राहुल गांधी देश में विपक्ष का नेता है, संसद में विपक्ष का नेता है। वो देश का विपक्ष का नेता नहीं है। बाहर देश में, विदेश में हम एक हैं। ऐसा तो उसका मन में होना चाहिए, इतना अक्ल तो होना चाहिए। उतना अक्ल नहीं है तो हम क्या बोलना राहुल गांधी को। बिट्टू भी वही बोला।
The BJP and Congress are also engaged in a heated exchange of letters that has added fuel to the fire. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge this week wrote to Prime Minister Narendra Modi voicing concerns about threats issued to Rahul Gandhi by BJP leaders. BJP chief JP Nadda has hit back, questioning the silence of Congress on the frequent verbal attacks faced by the Prime Minister. Nadda also accused Rahul Gandhi of aligning with pro-Pakistan and anti-India elements. The fierce face-off was sparked by Rahul Gandhi's comments in the US, where he spoke about Sikh struggles in India.
The fight is about whether he, as a Sikh, is going to be allowed to wear his turban in India. or he as a Sikh is going to be allowed to wear a kada in India, or he as a Sikh is going to be able to go to Gurdwara. That's what the fight is about.
Do you know what devta means in?
Rahul's statement last week has triggered a firestorm that is showing no signs of being doused. Bureau Report, India Today.
In India,